Okay, so where we left off, I just selected the depression main, so the choice of depression, and as that being my main focus. From there, I did kind of want to look at how mental illness stigma is looked at through campaigns and like what's been done already, because I want to be able to show and help the stigma. That was kind of one of my aims from the very beginning. So I want to help the stigma or come up with a way of advertisement to help people realise what it is and learn a bit about it. So I did look at the stigma campaigns, and a lot of it, a lot like the artwork that we saw at the beginning, it's using images or photography and then words describing how they might feel or how they feel about themselves. And yeah, so it's quite a lot the same. And then even with the without images, it's a lot of words just describing how they might feel rather than actual artwork. There was a couple of campaigns that I did like. Again, they're using faces and they're using images of people, but with these ones it's more creative, as it's adding in the aspect of it's not using words, it's a physical image, and it just represents an illness rather than describing it and physically looking like someone's in pain. It just kind of looks as though the artist has gone, oh yeah, it's not always as easy to see as having a bit of green moss on your face, in a sense. And then along the top, another ad campaign. So this one's suicidal. Again, it's using nutter, it's using words to describe them and then just having a face. So it is, again, it's following the same kind of path, which I'm not wanting to follow, basically. I don't want to involve loads of words that people might say, that might think. I want it to be around the expressionism and around the emotions that have been felt in that mental illness. So yeah. I then went on to look at some different websites that you would go to if you were wanting to look into the stigma, if you were wanting to donate or find some facts. So you've got the Heads Together campaign again, Retail Trust, and then you've got the Samaritans at the top as well. And you'd go on here, and if you were wanting help or you wanted to donate and to then give money, and the Samaritans at the top is quite simplistic. It is quite well done, the logo's quite nice, but it's basic. There's not a lot going on. Again, there's not a lot of there's not a lot of movement, there's not a lot of creativity. It's just the logo and then a couple of photos. With the Heads Together one, it's a bit better set out, so it is focusing, obviously it's focusing on the royals because they're the main thing, but the font's different. They've got a good logo, they've got the sweatband across the top, it's just more together and it's more working towards something that could draw people into them doing it. And then the one at the bottom just looks old. It looks as if it's not drawing people in, it's just the facts, boom. And yeah, I feel like there could be ways to updo it, there could be ways to make it look better, to bring in the younger audience, because a lot of the time mental health suffers from a young, like teenagers between 13 and 18 are quite high sufferers. People just going online in general to see facts, to see if they can help themselves. Having a more welcoming and warming website would draw more people in and help people and make it feel more realistic. So yeah. So from that I did kind of think, oh well, I could do an ad campaign or a fashion editorial, and I did find a few within a magazine. After looking at it though, I would be able to add in different marks, different campaigns, different ways to express the campaign in itself. But I came to the realisation that if I was to do a fashion editorial, it would only be targeted at people that bought a high-end fashion magazine, and they're not everyday fashion magazines. They're more expensive than the everyday magazine. It's more high-end, so it's targeting the high-end customers which is a small target market compared to the amount of different audience there is. So there's men, there's women that don't want to read high-end fashion magazines as well. But yeah, even if I did do that, I did draw up a couple of designs here, so I could create a poster and then have it on the wall, which would then create a higher target audience, as it could go on a wall, it could go on a billboard, it could then be seen by more people. But then I don't want it to turn into one of the ad campaigns from the previous page where it's just a face with words. And I feel like having it just expressive emotions without the person there would be hard to realise for people just reading it off a magazine without the words, or like off a poster without the words. So I've kind of ruled out the idea of a fashion editorial, even though I do like the idea of having marks within a way. But I then, as I was walking down Newcastle, down the main street, I came across the Phoenix windows. So these were main street, everyone walked past them, everyone saw them, and it was just an idea popped into my head. If you could get a message in a high-end window, just decorate it and design it properly, everyone that walked past would see it, they'd not realise, but they'd be able to look at it, and if they needed help, they'd be able to see it and link to it and think about it more, rather than have to discover the mental illness themselves and maybe go online or ring up. They could connect with the window as they were walking past it and realise, and then maybe look it up or find a phone number or something to go find help. So I've kind of settled on the idea of doing visual merchandising for the use of the marks and the images, and I did draw up a design. So within the background, kind of down here, like within the Phoenix window, they've got a bright background, so this would be the marks, and then on top of that I was thinking I could have the marks on the clothes as well, so everyday normal clothes to represent everyday and normal people, and then have the marks throughout the clothes, which could then represent them blending in, not being stood out like the people within the different artwork that we've looked at and the other examples. I don't want the idea that people are the main front of it. I want it to be more subtle in that sense. So yeah, that was the initial idea that I could have. I then, when I went down to London, looked at a couple more high-end retail stores and then just took a couple of ideas. So obviously you could add stuff to the outside for the florals, or you could like add streamers or everything like that. You could design and think about it. And then here they've got bright colours with the contrasting outfits. So you've got pink background and then the yellow dress, which just stands out. If I was wanting to use the clothes in a sense that was standing out as a visual merchandising rather than looking at the marks and the message rather than the clothes. I could probably do that, but I'm not wanting to do that in this sense because I don't want the focus to be on the person. I want it to be on the marks and the expressions within the emotion. So a couple more here. I did quite like these ones because I've just said that I don't want it to be based around the person. I want it to be based around the marks, and kind of just having the legs and the hand. It's not basing it around the person, it's basing it around the marks. And there is a physical presence because there's the legs and the arms there, but it's not one person. That could be anybody. It could be a man's foot. It's not physically basing it on one specific stereotype or of a female or of a male or of a young age or an old age. It could be anybody wearing the shoes linking to the art within the windows. So yeah, just a couple of high-end stores which I quite liked. I then looked at a couple of large-scale artists just to kind of be inspired by the way they work. So there's Joseph Griffiths, who uses the bike on a large scale, and he uses pens to create the large scale paintings and drawings. And just the way he uses the large scale and the way the marks look, and obviously the thickness of the pen on a larger scale doesn't look as thick. If you were using the Sharpie pens on a smaller scale, the nibs do look quite thick, and then that can be the difference. So I'd have to test everything on a larger scale than I have done previously before I started to make sure it doesn't look weird on a larger scale and it does give the same effect and the same emotion and the same emotions behind it. But yeah, so as well, the other two large scale artists are these two here. So these both use marks more than paintbrushes and pens. Here he uses his feet, and he doesn't use anything else. He uses his feet and pushes the paint around the canvas, and I do like the effect that gives. Again, he'll be looking at movements rather than actual marks. And then the same here, although she uses more of a large paintbrush that she's created. But yeah, I really like the idea of using them. I did look at this lady at the bottom here as well, and she creates landscapes and she creates paintings of things, but she twists the board to drip in the direction that she wants it to go, so she can create skyscrapers and everything, and it's dripped throughout the painting, which I thought was quite cool in the sense that she just let the paint do its thing rather than try and control it. I don't want to look at, I want to focus on more of the marks, so that more into these two here, but I do like the way she's done it and kind of let the paint flow in its own light rather than try and force it into doing something it doesn't want to. So yeah. I went on to the visual merchandising kind of aspects of the shop window after looking into some more high-end types. A lot of them use dummies or models stands anyways, so I did have a look at ways in which I could incorporate the marks into t-shirts or clothes themselves. I found quite a few nice samples, especially I quite like this one here. It's more expressive as well here. This one's embroidered into it, and I created, it was just a simple white t-shirt here with the blue and the pink and the black linked to the depression, just quickly splattering on the paint and the colour. Tried it on and then took some pictures and everything like that. I just felt, with the t-shirt especially, it just felt like it was comic relief t-shirts here. So there's nothing wrong with that, I just feel like it's been done before. I feel like although the marks looked good on the t-shirt and the t-shirt was a nice way to do it, I feel like it was done before and I don't want the idea of a human within. So rather than it being a picture, I'd rather an image of someone, so an image wearing the t-shirt. I want it to be incorporated into the piece, which would be in the window. So yeah, stop that video.